Coming up next, a special edition of Sledhead 24/7. We've assembled the latest models, the 2018 snowmobiles from the major manufacturers. Our goal is to ride, rate, and review as our intrepid test riders hit the trail hard so you can pick the perfect snowmobile. Base camp for Snowshoot, the mountains, endless trails, and deep snow of West Yellowstone, Montana. The stage for our test site, the Wild West, in a town that simply loves snowmobiles. But don't let the natural beauty distract you. Sledhead 24/7 has one mission: to discover the ultimate sled for your needs. And we are prepping to announce our selection as the Sled of the Year. Grab your notebook. Sledhead 24/7 from West Yellowstone and Snowshoot is next.
Welcome to a very special episode of Sledhead 24/7. We're heading out to Snowshoot to check out the new lineup of the 2018 sleds. Jeff Fisher and the crew are out in West Yellowstone to ride, rate, and review.
Jeff Fisher preps the test riders as the evaluation begins. Our first target, the Groom Trail category.
And Polaris' 800 Switchback Pro S, that sled's been around a few years, but it still doesn't disappoint. The sled is fun to ride. It's like riding a slot car on the trails. That thing just sticks in the corners, and yet that 800 motor, you can just let her wing.
Now, one of the great adjustments being an engine performance guy is now that we've got a oil bath center drive on the 2018. So, definitely durability, longevity is going to be substantially upgraded from this.
That Pro S chassis is super fun to ride. I actually find that it's probably one of my favorites to ride because you sit up high, kind of moto style. You can scoot forward on it, really hug the bars, take the corners as fast as you can, and then lay it back and just, go on the nice and straights as fast as you want, very comfortably. The 2018 Arctic Cat Thundercat 9000 comes with the 200 horsepower, critically acclaimed, fastest motor out there, built by Yamaha. This sled is super trail friendly. Not a ton of ski lift, very, very powerful. Some of the creature features that I personally like: I hate being cold, heated seat, great hand warmers, great to ride on the trail.
Kind of a beast of a sled, but it really rode very smooth on the trails, had a lot of power with it, was very comfortable. I love the heated seats. I enjoyed it a lot.
Comes with the Yamaha 200 plus horsepower engine, turbocharged, great throttle response, fun to drive. Great ergonomics to sit on it. Leaning in and out of the corner, you can handle it just as it were a light and nimble machine. Yamaha Apex. Last year, we're going to see this machine. Somebody who hasn't spent a lot of time on Yamahas, it was great to see it, drive it, and spend some time. Amazingly, the sled runs and performs great and is fun on the trail. Big adjustment for 2018 is their new shock system. It allows dampening to go from left to right. They share a cylinder in between. Definitely improved cornering, a lot fun to drive.
And the thing lays so much flatter than it ever is. Anybody who rode the Apexes in the past would always complain about that ski lift on the inside. You won't find that with this snowmobiles. Skidoo's Renegade X with the 850 E-Tech, that snowmobile, it says there's just not enough O's and smooth to talk about that snowmobile. The throttle response is just awesome, and yet the ride is just second to none.
I tell you what, to me in the Groom Trail segment, there's a couple sleds that stand out, and this is definitely one of them. I love to push my limits just a little bit, ride with some guys that get me out of my comfort zone, and this sled is a sled that takes me and really makes me feel a lot more comfortable when trying to, stretch my limits.
What I really liked about that sled was that you were able to adjust that suspension. It made it much more comfortable for somebody of my size and style and ability.
After a week of riding, it was clear. We tallied up the reviews, and our Groom Sled of the Year goes to Skidoo Renegade X 850 E-Tech. Still ahead, how tough are the rough trail sleds? We are going to find out the old-fashioned way, and it may leave a mark.
You know, we ride, but we also have to spend time off the trail. Not in the boondocking, I mean in the edit office. That's where we go through and decide for you guys what Sledhead 24/7 Sled of the Year is.
But now, time for an AMSOIL tech tip.
So a lot of people want to skimp on the oil that goes into trucks. Bad idea. Trucks are designed today with some very challenging conditions that require high quality oil. Today's trucks are very complicated. They're designed with a lot of systems that require an oil that's going to last for a long time in terms of durability, and one that's going to have cleanliness that it needs for these extreme conditions that are created with these new engines.
Sledhead 24/7 is brought to you by AMSOIL. Protect your weekend. By Polaris. Terrain domination. Arctic Cat. Share our passion. Skidoo Snowmobiles. What matters is what's next. FXR. World-class outerwear. And by Ram Trucks. America's longest lasting pickups.
Welcome back to our special Snowshoot edition of Sledhead 24/7. Time to ride, rate, and review the rough trail sleds.
Arctic Cat ZR8000RR. That was our Sled of the Year last year for rough trail, and it still didn't disappoint. The thing with their new motor, you could just feel a little bit of added acceleration out of the bumps because the torque that new 800 motor has helped in popping out of the bumps.
With that shock system having only those 3 positions, being able to easily turn it to that one for my weight made the sled very easy to handle.
This new motor has borrowed a little bit of technology from their 600 that they've had in the last couple of years, and let me tell you, the baseline numbers, the mid power, the top end is absolutely phenomenal, and it's something that you can definitely feel in the seat of your pants. The 2018 Skidoo Renegade XRS 850 E-Tech, it absolutely soaked up everything. I'm not a great rough trail rider. I don't get to do it very often, but this makes it way fun to learn. And I got the opportunity to see some of my co-parts out here really take this sled and beat it up, and it laid as flat as can be through some of the biggest bumps that I've got to personally ride myself.
Steering post is moved 2 inches forward. That's basically the same as a number 2 setting on the other machines, which allows a straight steering post to straight handlebar, so much better control.
You don't care how big the bumps are, how bad the stutter bumps are on the trails. The thing just handles, it goes straight, and it doesn't want to give you that swappy, bucky feel. The thing steers and goes straight. New for Polaris this year, they have the Polaris 800 Switchback XCR. Now, what they took their regular XCR and went to the longer track, which is cool. Helped bridge the small bumps real nice, and still felt good on the big bumps.
I am very comfortable on the Polaris. That Axis chassis is what I know and what I've always ridden, and so it's very easy for me to be able to handle.
The Switchback also comes with their 800 proven motor. I mean, it's been an awesome response. We definitely have some time on it here to prove that.
This is an incredible big bump sled. This sled has been tried and true in the race season this year, and they have learned so much, and it is shown in 2018. The Yamaha Sidewinder Ltx LE was probably the biggest surprise for me in the big bumps category. In the past, this motor has just been absolutely phenomenal. It's big, it's fast, it's powerful, but it kind of scared me in some of the bigger stuff. But this year, I took the opportunity to ride it, and I adjust to the weight, and it made it way more fun to just push it and pound through the big bumps. And actually, in certain scenarios, I felt a little bit safer because I didn't get the ski lift. That weight from the big motor, that big Genesis platform, really kind of kept it a little bit flatter in some of the big bumps. And then when you got it back on the lake coming back home, you left all your buddies in the dust.
A little bit on the heavy side, so you get a little nose down there, but boy, if you can just hammer on this thing through, it's got the power. If you can hang on, it'll go right through them.
After a week of riding and no holding bar testing, it was clear. Our rough trail sled of the year goes to Skidoo Renegade XRS 850 E-Tech. Still ahead, time to saddle up with the crossover sleds. And later, our test riders can't wait to head to the mountains. But first, Jason Houle has another tip for what might be the saddest day of the year, putting your sled away for the season.
Get yourself a can of WD-40. Open the engine compartment, just spray down all the components that are inside there, less the clutches. This will basically lubricate everything, keep it moist, keep any problems that it'll have with corrosion or rusting during that summer months. You'll be amazed when you open it back up in the fall. You won't have any issues whatsoever. It'll look like the oil wasn't even there.
From deep in the backlands of Montana, it's time to test the crossover sleds.
The 2018 Arctic Cat XF 8000 141 iCountry Limited gets the brand new Arctic Cat 8000 motor again. This is 800cc that they've really put some time into, and it shows.
The new CTEC 2 engine, definitely an awesome improvement from what we've seen in the past with the throttle response, the mid-range power, the tree running, the on and off. So definitely a big hit for them this year.
The Polaris 800 SKS 146. Now that's kind of like, I'd like to think it's kind of a mini RMK, but they gave it a little bit more trail characteristics to make it a lot nicer to ride in the trail. But when you get off trail, that thing is really fun.
Right on the trails, a lot of fun and very comfortable. And once you got off the trails and played in the powder, it was easy to counter steer and make that thing turn.
This is the ultimate deep snow crossover. With the RMK front end and the IGX rear suspension, this makes this sled the ultimate deep snow machine.
The 2018 Skidoo Renegade Backcountry X 850 is not only a blast to look at, but let me tell you, it's a fun to ride on trail and off trail. This to me was probably the perfect combination of the ditch swinging guy who wants to, maybe get a little bit more in the mountains.
You have a new chassis in the Rev Gen 4, you got a new motor in the 850 E-Tech, and we've got new suspensions, both front and rear on it. So it's a 146-inch length, but it's got a C-motion rear skid in it. It's got a new RAS3 front suspension on it. It's a hybrid RAS3 front suspension, so it's all new front to back, and it's really meant to truly address a 50-50 market, so a guy can go anywhere with it, do anything with it.
Yamaha Sidewinder Btx, that's their backcountry missile, I would say. The thing on the trail is just a hoot to drive. The thing has a handful of power. And when you get off the trail, even though it's a little heavier than the other machines, the turbo does make up for it. So if you want to go out and play, it still does real well.
Now this sled is probably more fun on the trail for me. The weight combined with the track in the crossover for me was just not quite there. It didn't have the mountain characteristics that I personally like, but it was still a blast to ride. And I tell you what, if you want to get out there and try it, or for the guy that doesn't get to out west very often or doesn't get in the deep snow, it's going to be a blast, and you're going to be going fast all day long and still have that tried and true Yamaha handling and good characteristics.
For our test riders, the decision was not easy, but after a week of riding, they felt confident that the Polaris 800 SKS 146 was the crossover sled of the year. What's new for 2018? Big things come in small sleds. And that's what was discovered with the Arctic Cat ZR200 and the Yamaha Snowshoot.
The cool thing, not only can the youth ride this snowmobile, but their parents can ride it as well. I mean, I'm 6'4", and I can ride this model, which is super fun. Plus, it gives me an excuse. I can buy this and let my kids ride it too.
The other exciting trend, the snow bike category. And we think they finally have it dialed in.
I got a chance to ride Arctic Cat's new SXV 450 with their Camzo setup. I also got to ride Polaris's new Axos chassis with the 137 and the 120 length. All three bikes ran phenomenal. All three bikes were fun to ride. They all three had their, their own handling characteristics. They really are kind of tailor-made and built for, different specifics.
Still ahead, time to head to the mountains for a review of the sleds that prowl in deep snow at high altitudes.
Hey, here at Sledhead 24/7, we ride, rate, and review. Now we're doing the review part. We're off trail in the edit suite, looking at hours and hours of footage. Get you the Sledhead 24/7 Sled of the Year.
Sledhead 24/7 is brought to you by Amsoil. Protect your weekend. Stud Boy. Traction with an attitude. Straight line performance. Ziegler Cat. Exceptional service backing the best equipment. The U.S. Air Force. Aim high.
Snowshoot model year 18 is proving to be more than just epic. We've got great snow, we have the greatest snowmobiles in the world, and some of the greatest riders and engineers the manufacturers have to offer us. They sent some engineers and some of the OEMs to make sure we behave a little bit, because here at Sledhead 24/7, anything can happen. In our mountain category, the bars always get set higher and higher, and the things that some of these riders, some of these athletes do with these snowmobiles is just simply remarkable. I'd love to put them on some of the stuff back in the 80s we were riding and see where they go. I tell you, the snowmobiles are so much better and the technology is so much higher than we've ever seen it before. The Ski-Doo Summit 175 is so much fun to ride. You start getting in that deep powder, that thing just augers through everything. It just pulls. It's so effortless to ride when you're trying to navigate through the trees.
You know, for an average rider like myself, it's very predictable. So there's a lot of machines out here. We're switching back and forth. This one is definitely the machine that seems to suit some average rider like myself. It's predictable, it's controllable, and you have plenty of power.
When you get done pulling on all your fellow riders' ski loops all day long, it sure is nice. Their new shot system, you hit the button, it's an electric start without the added weight, and it sure is nice to be able to hit a button rather than pull a rope, because I've been pulling ski loops all day long. You know, the Arctic Cat M8000, Arctic Cat made a lot of changes. To look at it, it may not seem like it just to your eye, but you see how the chassis, the panels, and by all means their new 800cc motor they're making, that thing worked really well. It's the full package. They took a snowmobile that was good and they brought it to the next level.
2018 Mountain Cat 8000, brand new Arctic Cat motor this year. They're building their own motors, and let me tell you what, for those guys that were worried about not having Suzuki power, this sled is unbelievable. Baseline numbers are dialed from the factory, bottom end is killer, mid-range is amazing, and I tell you what, there's some places today that a 174 was just tractoring through. We're almost pulling wheelies through it with this. The power and track combo is absolutely dead on.
You know, Arctic Cat with their mountain class sleds, they are back in the game. They're in the hunt with the rest of the manufacturers of being the #1 sled. You know, the Polaris 800 Axis RMK, that is just a proven sled. That thing works so well. It's easy to drive, it's nimble, and you can just put it wherever you want to go, from, you know, elevatoring down to picking through the trees. It's just a nice snowmobile.
This thing is unreal. This 174 will go through the steepest, nastiest stuff, anything you point at it. You can stop, look around, check out a line, and take off again with ease. You're not worried about getting buried at all. Super deep out here, blower powder. Man, having a blast on the 174.
The Yamaha Sidewinder Btx. Now remember, that's a turbo snowmobile, one of the highest horsepower snowmobiles known to man right now, 200 horse. So when you want something that will climb and you need the power, that's the sled.
Tell you what, the power on this thing is just absolutely incredible. The one thing to note, it'll get you there really, really fast. So make sure you know where you're gonna go, plan your line out, and go have some fun on it.
After a week of riding, it was clear. We tallied up the reviews. Our mountain sled of the year goes to Arctic Cat M8000 162 Mountain Cat.
Today I'm sitting in the Sledhead 24/7 edit suite. Now this is where all the magic happens here. We're sitting through hours and hours of high definition video that Cubby and Joe have put together. Now, what makes a sled of the year? It's got to be innovative, new, latest and greatest in the sport and in the industry. And that's what will get us to the Sledhead 24/7 Sled of the Year.
After a week of hard riding and hours in the edit room, Sledhead 24/7 is confident and proud to unveil our selection of the 2008 Sled of the Year, the Polaris Titan.
The Titan, which is an extreme crossover, which can both be on trail and off trail. Rough trail, big bumps, tight corners, no big deal for the Titan. Yet, still take it off in the deep powder.
The Titan is great because not only does it have utility, it also has recreational features, so that's what makes it the extreme crossover. So pretty much if you need to haul things, you can still do that, but you can have fun on the trails as well.
It carries and hauls more than anything else in the industry. Has great flotation, has a very powerful engine, gets great fuel economy, great range. It's a real overachiever.
What a week in Montana at Snowshoot. And what a season. But it does not end now. We are always live at Sledhead247.com. Drop Fish and Chelsea a line or a story idea. And we'll see you on the trail.